Cool. Let's get started then. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining live. Today, we have got a showcase on journaling and how we can use Obsidian to enhance that. We are meant to have two presenters. First is SlRvb, who is going to be showing us their journaling setup in their vault. And hopefully Mike Schmitz is going to be joining at some point too. Yeah. So the meeting is recorded. It's going to be posted on YouTube afterwards. If you do have any questions and comments, please do post them in the chat. And you can also turn on your mic and camera if you're comfortable with that. Yeah, cool. With that, we'll hand over to SlRvb. You can take it away.
Okay. So this is my personal journaling setup. I've tried journaling before quite a couple of times, but nothing ever seemed to stick. It was always kind of a pain to go through that I just never really wanted to continue doing. But in Obsidian, this setup has been working for me, and I've been able to add journal entries very easily with minimal resistance. So this right here, what you're seeing is the journaling vault that I have set up for people who have read the forum post about this journaling setup. It's available to download on that post, so you can kind of just go around and play with it. I can send the link in chat to that vault. Anybody who's previously downloaded it before should probably re-download it this time. A couple of stuff has changed, so this vault currently is a little different than before. And so in this vault, it's got the basic folder setup that I already have in my other vault where the actual journaling setup sits in. And there's a couple of folders inside this Bujo folder. There is the Zero Bujo where all the home pages for all of these other folders are located. There is the journal folder where it's all the journal entries that I do. Those are for like just the events of my day that I just go and record. The dream journal is where I record any of the dreams that I've had the previous night. The workout log is any exercises I do. The conditions log is basically any symptoms that I feel anywhere in my body that I might want to record in case I go to the doctor later and have to recount certain things. I have a code diary, which is to basically help me write down things that I learn about coding, whether it be like CSS or JavaScript or whatever. The residence calendar is like for any media that kind of strikes a chord with me or just challenges the way that I think. And the update log is where I basically list out all of the differences in the projects that I've done from the last update that I had put out. So those are folders. In this vault setup, I have a couple entries titled explained. And so in this vault, all of the pages inside each of these folders have a clear explanation of how I basically format these pages. So if you use this vault and browse around, these explained pages will basically help you understand the formatting and everything. So the home folder is just the journal folder, and this is just, it lists out the months with the tracker plugin, and I have data view listing out all of the entries that I've put in. Most of the time, these are limited to like any entries listed this month, but since this is the journal vault, I've just set it to display whatever's in here, since there isn't that much. And here is a embed of the current year. So this is a file where it's just the current year. It's just titled 2021, and it's just got everything for this year. I have like themes for this year that I like to do from the CGP grade theme video. And the reflection is just, you know, listing out what exactly about that theme I've done. So since the theme is learning, I've learned about CSS, and I learned how to use GitHub this year. And so at the bottom is just the entries, and this just lists all the entries that occurred in 2021. So these are, so in the Zero Bujo, it's got all of the home pages for every single file in here. So rarely ever do I actually open these. Like if I'm actually searching for something, I'll click them open, but most of the time I will be sitting in these home pages, just jumping through some stuff through the month view or just the list. So most of these pages are the same. I've got the month view in an admonition block, just so I can collapse it because it gets a little too big on mobile. And this is just a list of all of the very specific pages or entries for this particular section of the notebook. So all of these pages are basically formatted the same. There's just a couple of differences in the tables, depending on what kind of section it is. So like for this condition log, it's a huge data view mess where I've just listed everything from the page within it to basically show me all of the information that I would want to see in a glance. So all of this is basically that, and it's just formatted as nice as I can make it. So same with the dream journal and the resonance. The timeline is a different file. It's basically where I just list out the year on this table, and I just try to keep it as like a brief summary of everything that could have happened in that particular year. So in 2021, COVID happened, and also the ITS theme got released in 2021. So that to me was something that was big. I released my theme in 2021, and I was really happy with it. And so did the Obsidian mobile get released. That was pretty amazing. So those were like the highlights of my year. So yeah, so the update log is the same, and so is the workout. So going into the first section, which is the journal section, where is my usually just like my day outline. Like this is an example of one day where I have basically all of like the metadata just displayed on the page, and it'll just have like headings for like specific events that I want to like talk about. So it's like the in the vault prep, and I'll just bullet list all of the events that happen, just like this, and that's about it. Most of the time, there is like for this explain page, like this is like full description of everything inside. So explaining what the rating is, the tags, what I try and do here. Most of the time for most journal entries, I will just have a summary heading, which is just really brief bullet points on whatever happened that day. So sometimes some days could be, I don't know, woke up at 10 a.m., did some CSS, talked to people on Discord, went to bed at like 9 p.m. and that's it. That'll be the entire journal entry. Where most of these, like these are different, where it'll have an event heading, which is just the event description. And it'll just be a like pretty detailed recollection of the entire day. So it'll be very bullet heavy, very long. These are just very short examples, but that's mostly what goes in the journal entry. So I'll just link to the year file, and then I'll link to the months. But I personally haven't created month entries or week entries. It was just a little bit too narrow for me and a bit more upkeep than I was willing to do. So I've just settled for a year entry and then daily entries, depending on whether or not whatever I did that day was worth writing down. So next is the, actually before that, so the file titles are very specific. We've got like the date at the beginning, and then a dash, and then J. And the J is where I basically specify that this is specifically a journal entry, which it just makes searching for it much faster than if I had to, query it through the date. I could just be like -J, and then it'll give me every single journal entry that I'm just trying to find. And then we have the dash and then the title. And the title is most of the time a really brief, like 3-4 words per event. So here we got like the D&D Scramble, and then first D&D DM session. And these, like the ampersand and the plus, are specifically to help me figure out which events kind of relate to each other. So the and will be events that are like pretty related. So the D&D Scramble and the first D&D DM session, those are like about basically the same thing. So it'll have the and, but the wings section, the event, that one is like completely separated from the two. But I did want to include it in the title so that I knew what exactly happened that day, which is why I have these long titles instead of just the date. Because whenever I'm looking at the file title, I'd like to know exactly what happened that day without having to click into the file and be like, okay, just spend time reading, what in the world happened this day. So that's just how I have that set up. So the dream journal is basically the same. So all of these file titles will basically have like abbreviations of the journal title. So this for the dream is DJ. So yes, dream journals are really, really simple. It's got the same metadata section, and just lists out the date, and it's just free form. I'm just fully going through the dream in paragraphs, just writing down what happened, and I'll give it some tags, just basically describing what it is. Sometimes I'll have dreams about like shows or whatever, or sometimes I'll have dreams with like people in my life, and so that's what I'll put in these two inline field sections. Oh yeah, and so sometimes they'll have dream sections. So if it's a really long dream, or if one section is really huge, it'll be split up into a section so I can jump quickly through all of them. The next one is the workout log. The workout log has a couple different template types, because when I exercise, I do specific body parts on specific days. So one day I'll do arms, one day I'll do like torso, or one day I'll do like legs. And so I have them all split up in that same way. So the files will be the same file title, but it'll have an additional initial to help me figure out which one is leg day, which one is torso day. So this L is leg day. And so I'll have the description of what I did that day. So on 2021, June 19, I decided, hey, I'm gonna try a new leg routine. And so I'll have it here as a huge table that I'll link to other pages in my other vault that have the GIFs of all of these. So I can just like look at it and basically quickly see what that exercise is, and then I'll just do it for the amount of time that I set, and then rest for however long I set. And the form part is where I'll write, how many reps did I do? How did I feel when I was doing it? Was I in pain, or was I like doing it so well that I didn't even feel it? Or that it was just so hard that I'm gonna need to drop the rep count. So that's basically the same for pretty much all of the other entries. They'll just have different exercises and like different columns at the top here. And so there's a W workout log, and the W is like the basic template. So if I don't decide to do a specific routine and I just decide, oh, I'm just going to do maybe like a couple push-ups or a couple of squats today, both of them, it'll just be a W template, which is just general. It's empty, and it'll just be anything that I want to do. And so this is the explained one, where it's like, it's got the entire table. So I'll have exercise, time, reps, rest, and log, which is basically form in the other one. And so yeah, so that's basically how my exercise setup is. Okay, conditions log. So yeah, the conditions log is where I basically write out wherever I feel something strange in my body one day. So like, for example, this day, my leg felt completely and entirely numb for a good 5 minutes, I think, or a good minute. And it was kind of distressing. So I have like a field here for, writing out, how distressed was I, how much pain was I in, what was the condition, what is the what could have been the cause, what area, what was the symptom that I felt. I felt numb, and the event is specifically like a more because all of the rest are very brief, but the event will kind of give me a small summary of like what happened. So the event was I woke up from a nap to no sensation in my leg, and all the rest will just be very specific stuff. And I'll have a note here where I'll basically write out anything of note. So like the note I put here was I couldn't even stand. I fully collapsed to my knee when I had tried to put weight on it. And so that felt important for me to include. So I included that there. And then the summary was like, the summary is a more detailed description of basically everything that happened when it happened. So yeah, so this is the explained log. So it'll give you more explanation on how exactly, or what exactly goes where. So the code diary also has a little extra stuff in the title. So the initials for basically the coding language that I'm referring to. So Rx is regex. Or just regular expressions. So I'll have a page where I've got the code here, and then an explanation of like what exactly that code does. And since this is a regex, it'll specifically have the search function, and then whatever you're going to replace it with. So how you're going to replace it. And so I'll have the explanation of like every single individual thing that goes on in this. So I'll just break it down in bullet point where I'll have the whole thing, basically telling me, this whole part is telling me search for the property fandom. And then this specific part is copy the fandom title. And then I'll just keep going with all the rest, just explaining every specific part so that if I ever forget what I did or how I did it, or why I did it, it'll all be here. and then I'll put like maybe an image or just a code block where it's got the result of whatever I've put in here. Another one is for like, this one was for JavaScript, and it's add today, tomorrow as a date from the title. And so this is something that's like in the templates of the journal entry. So it'll just pull the dates from this title and spit it out in the proper formatting that I wanted it to be. So this one is just adding like dates for tomorrow and then yesterday based on the file title. And so I've described everything that happened there. And then this was the result. The file title was 2021-05-22 journal entry, testing journal entry, and it'll give me the date for tomorrow and yesterday based on this title. So that's the code diary. Resonance calendar is the media that like really makes me think, and I will write notes based on that because it's something that I would like to refer back to or share with somebody and be like, hey, this is what I've learned from this video, or just something that I thought was interesting from this video. Maybe take a look at this if you're interested in that. And so, yeah, so I'll have like, if it's a video, I'll embed it here. If there's nothing to embed, I'll just leave the source link in the metadata here. Yeah, and I'll have the creator and the title of that media here so that it appears properly. The file titles, it'll have the title of the media and then 2 dashes and then the creator. And the 2 dashes to me will always signify, hey, this is whatever comes after this is specifically the creator of this media. So this one is NV by ContraPoints. And so I'll have all of the notes from that video written out here and most of the time I will split the view and I'll just like unlink it so that the video can continue playing here, but I can continue just taking notes and keeping the video in view. And whenever I'm still working through the video and I haven't fully finished taking notes, I'll just throw in this in progress tag. And I'll just throw it at the top because it looks ugly and that's going to bother me. And that's going to like push me to just finish logging or just taking notes of like everything from that video so that I can just remove that thing and finally get it to a point where it's like, hey, take a look at these notes. And this won't look ugly to me. And the last one is the update log. And so the update log is like for any projects that I'm working on where it's like important for me to write down what has changed, I will put that here. And so, so for example, my theme, I do a lot of updates to it. And sometimes I'll forget what I've put into the theme sometimes. So it'll completely blindside me sometimes when I'm trying to write the update log and I'll be like, oh yeah, I added this thing, completely forgot I added this thing because I did it like days ago. So this helps me make sure that whatever I've updated goes into the update so that other people know, hey, this is the new stuff that's there. And so most of the time I'll just have it in a huge bullet list form. It's just so much easier for me to write that way. And so this is just an example of one of those pages where it'll just have the date and then what project it is. This is the ITS theme. And then in my other vault, I have like a folder of all my projects and stuff. So I just link to the specific page where that project lives. And I'll have metadata here. So the metadata has the link to the update log. So this one has a link to the forum where I post the update. And yeah, that's basically it for the update log. This is just another example where this one got really big, so I had to split it up into a couple of sections where stuff was updated specifically. And so yeah, that's basically the entire journal setup. I see some questions. I agree, love the icons. I'm new to this, but is there an easy way to insert? And is it a personal icon library? So yeah, so my journal setup is using the ITS theme. And in a recent update of this theme, I had decided to move the icons out of the theme because they had basically shot my theme up in size to like 1 megabyte. And so yeah, that was just too big. So I moved it out. And so most of the icons here though come from, so some of the icons inside are from that icon snippet I'm talking about. And then most of these are mostly from the Iconify website, where I think I have a link here, where most of the icons come from there, and they have like a specific SVG format, which is what I use. So CSS is pretty heavy here. So I'll just CSS the little icons here and CSS the icon here, which are using the which you can use the supercharge links, but for me, since I have these very particular file titles, I can just target the file title and display an icon here. So this is the Iconify website. I sent that in the chat. And so yeah, so that's basically what I've been using. Very curious for the movie. How do you place two notes side by side? Yeah, that's just Obsidian itself. You can just open preview mode, control click, and it'll split the pane. And this is usually how I have it set up, because I always want to see what the preview is while I'm typing. So I'll just have it split pane like this. Yeah. Oh yeah. So for the journals, yeah, most of the time I will use the quick add plugin with all of the commands that I have set mapped to Alt J. And so this is where I go and I add all these journal entries. So if I wanted to do, let's say, the bullet journal, it'll ask me, oh, what's the title? And I'll say, today is the community talk for journaling, and it'll send me right here. It'll just have everything set up, all the date, the title, the whole file, and then I can just go here and start typing, like started at 12 or 6 p.m. And so that'll basically be how that would be how I add most of these. So like for the workout log, it's got the extra lettering there. So I can be like, this is arms, this is torso, this is leg, and this is like just the general workout template. And so yeah, most of the time I don't add the title until I'm done working out. So that's basically what I do there with that. So yeah, I think I've covered everything.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So I know that this vault that you're using is just like for the showcase, but you must then at some point integrate like your resonance calendar nodes into the rest of your vault, like if it's really resonant. So do you have like a system for that? Like at what point does a journal entry get added to the rest of your vault?
Well, for here, for this vault, this has been separated as a showcase vault so that people can use it. Most of the time, this vault lives in my headquarters vault. And my headquarters vault contains my PKM. So oftentimes I'll be writing in the PKM and be like, oh yeah, this video that I had watched, and I'll just link right to the resonance calendar note. So I'll just link it straight there if I have those notes already set up. And so that's basically how I use it. So it's good. It's just another folder file linked to the journal entry here, and then that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the resonance calendar entry is treated like the source node, the node for that piece of media.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Guys, you can ask questions in the chat if you got, and yeah, also speak over mic if you're comfortable with that. Just if anyone's like typing, I also like how you add the metadata as a data view inline field so that you can just reuse it in multiple places instead of repeating it. Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, it took a lot of fiddling and trying to figure out how exactly I wanted to set it up. So yeah, that was the best format I could think of.
Sorry, I have a question. Maybe you covered this, but I'm chasing kittens still, so I don't know. Do you have a way or a place where you sort of put all your daily notes together? So let's say a place where you get an overview of all the journal entries you made in a single day.
I don't have something like that, but I could easily do it with data view. I'll just have maybe I'll just have a section in the top journal note where it's just like a fiddly data view query where I could just say, hey, show me the files of 2021 that I did in September the 11th. And so I'll just have that query show anything to me from that one specific day. But otherwise, yeah, I don't tend to look back too often at the journal entries in that same way.
Sorry, I didn't really mean journal, but sort of all the types of entries you make under the Bujo category. So let's say I want to see what happened Friday last week. Did I write on my journal? Did I have an entry on the dream journal? What type of things happened on the resonance calendar or something like this? Do you have like an overview note for a single day?
I don't think I do. I guess just personally, I just haven't had the need to take a look at what happened on one specific day, because a lot of my days tend to be pretty spread out in what journal entry I write in. But yeah, I think I would definitely use I would either actually, I think in one of my other entries, I have wherever like stuff really happened on that day, it'll often be in that day's journal. So in that day, I will link to, oh, hey, I had this dream today. So I'll link to there. Or, hey, I also did like a couple workouts, and maybe the condition that workout left me was, oh God, I accidentally made my fingers numb from that workout. And so then I'll also link to that conditions log. So that's about as close as I get to like an overview of like, hey, what happened on this specific day for all of these entries. But other than that, yeah, I don't have a note or something like that.
All right, good to know. Just curious about yeah, how you organize, or since they are all in a way daily notes, if there was any way you would link them together. But I think what you just mentioned definitely makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Yeah, I see a question in chat. So was the Iconify icons integrated into the ITS theme or as a CSS snippet? So the Iconify icons, at least for the folder, is in the open it up, the folder styles here. So in the folder styles CSS, I will use the SVG icon URL and basically put it where I need to. And so yeah, so the same goes with the links. It's just some of the encoded icons that used to be in the theme but is now in a snippet are mostly encoded icons. So it'll be from like either the remix icon set or Google material icons kind of thing. So it'll just reference from both of those places. So a lot of it is like mostly down to CSS.
And do you use any like journal prompts to like get your mind started writing, you know?
I don't tend to use journal prompts, mostly because I guess I just like to keep my journal set up, like for my journal page, pretty minimalistic. So I just, if I go here, like you can see a blank, it's just a fully blank note. And that's just for me personally, because I tend to not like seeing a bunch of stuff where I want to write. It just feels a little stressful. So I tend to just have a blank note. And the summary is basically what kind of jump starts me into writing, because it's not pushing me to try and write, you know, a whole like essay on what I did that day. I had tried to do that when I was using Obsidian at first to try and do this, where I was just writing full on like paragraphs of like what happened in that day. And after a week, I just couldn't, or I just kept trying to avoid having to write in my journal, because that was just taking up a huge chunk of my day. So the summary is just where I'll like start writing, oh, hey, I woke up at like 12 today, like 12 a.m. And then I'll just start like adding little other bullets of like just a couple of other things that might have happened. And then sometimes something big will happen and I'll just be like, oh, I should write about that. Be like, oh, hey, I had this whole experience at court today. Let me write about that whole thing. So yeah, so I don't tend to use the questions. It's just kind of empty canvas for me to start writing on.
Right, yeah. And I guess if the intention is to just capture stuff that's happened in the day, then like that prompt of like what are you looking for in your future doesn't fulfill that purpose.
Yeah, most of my journaling is just kind of like, hey, I want to log down what happened instead of, you know, a bit more reflective on certain things. And that's just how I found I prefer to journal.
Yeah, just a preference.
Yeah.
And just on like when you decide to make a dedicated note for some event, I suppose you just kind of get a feel for it after practicing.
Wait, what do you mean?
Maybe I'm overthinking it, like deciding when something gets its own separate journal entry versus just being added as a bullet point in the current day's entry.
Most of the time, at least for this journaling setup, I only tend to have one journal entry per day. And so most of the time, if something gets like really huge, and I'll just have like sub-bullets of like sub-bullets of like sub-bullets, and it's just like, this is getting too wild. A lot of the time, I will just take that, like here, I'll just take that and turn it into a heading. And so anything that gets like, see, like this one has a sub-bullet with a couple of stuff, but since it's only just a couple of things, it's not too unwieldy yet to turn into a subheading of this heading. So a lot of the time I'll just have, you know, headings here so that I can jump through it. I don't really split it up into a new page.
Right, that makes sense. I mean, it's so organized.
Yeah, so like if I ever need to link to something specific from this day, I can just link to this heading.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's how I have that set up.
Oh, okay. Cool. There aren't any more questions. I suppose we would move to Mike, but I don't see Mike in the audience. Just send a message if you are. Yeah, and I mean, you can still ask some questions to SlRvb if you've got. We'll see if Mike's here. Otherwise, we could just spend a few more minutes chatting about the system and then maybe finish there.
I've got a question. One of my biggest problems when it comes to journaling is creating the habit to actually sit down and do it. With Obsidian, you know, I know a lot of your journals are really helpful that you're able to kind of do it in the moment, but do you have any routines that have come about since you've started using Obsidian for journaling?
Yeah, the routine that I've built up at least most consistently was just kind of waking up and immediately opening Obsidian to just write down what happened in my dream. So oftentimes I used to just like tell my friends what had happened. And then like weeks later, I'd be like, oh yeah, I had a couple of dreams the past week, and then have to spend a whole like 2-3 hours coming back here and then writing down. So for me, that was one habit that I've just started doing because of this, since the quick add plugin just makes it really quick to just hop into Obsidian and load up a note and have it go where I need it to immediately. Yeah, and the journal, the summary, has been really helpful in just getting me to at least write something about what happened that day without having to worry about is this really all that important to write down? I've just been able to just easily write. Like sometimes it'll be in the morning. Most of the time it'll be in the afternoon, where I decide to like write about what happened that day or the previous day.
I have a separate question. How much time do you think you needed to make the setup work with quick add? Because I saw also a previous talk for buttons, and it's definitely one tool that I want to go and explore, but I also know how Obsidian plugins are rabbit holes.
Yeah,
I definitely am very interested in having a setup very similar to this, also to separate, for example, work logs and personal notes and sort of daily notes. But I haven't gone into the rabbit hole because I don't know actually how much time it will take me to learn quick add and set things up. So roughly for you, more or less, how much time did you need to spend to set this up?
Well, after I had watched at least Christian's video on like the basics, getting this entire setup ready to go with quick add didn't really take too much time, maybe like 30 minutes top for like all of them. Since I already had the system set up, it was just a matter of getting the templates to go in and getting the file titles to be correct. This is all in the multi, so I can just hotkey it and it'll show all of these to me. And so it's pretty simple. There's not much that goes into the quick add. It's all the same kind of thing where I'll have it automatically put it in the correct date folder. So I have like specific folders within the journal entries for like that year, so that I can easily collapse them or open them if I need to see, oh, hey, what thing happened in 2020 or what thing happened in 2021. So I can easily go through there. And then the rest is just, you know, put the date in the title. Since this is like the journal entry thing, just put J and then format it properly for me. And then just give me a prompt to put in the title. And then that's it. And send it to the journal folder. Just send it there, open it, and that's basically it. That's just all that goes into this quick add setup. And so for my other vaults, I just have this same kind of quick add settings. For my PKM, I'll just have it automatically just set the prefix and the template, and I can just hotkey it and immediately continue working. So yeah, to me, quick add is like unnecessary plugin.
Oh, that's very promising, because let's say I need double the time. It's still fine. I can definitely deal with 1 hour of setup. And just, I mean, looking at the way you set up your vault, for me, this would be extremely useful, for example, for meeting notes. I have a couple of projects that I work on and take meeting notes for, and I always create my notes by hand. So I use natural language to write today, then go back, edit the title, add a prefix for the project, then some additional title for the meeting, and then manually invoke the template. And this thing you just showed me basically would automate all of that, so that I only have to do one thing.
Yeah, like for my workout log, this one is a little more specific. So yeah, so like you can just add the prefixes of your file title to do it automatically and add the template, so that you don't have to spend more time doing that. And so like if you need to like pick the type of meeting that it is or the type of project that it is, you can have like multiple selects. So you can just go through it and just be like, oh yeah, it's a work meeting kind of thing. Enter, and then it'll create the entire file for you.
Very, very nice. Thank you very much.
Cool. Any last questions from anybody there? I don't think Mike will be joining us for this talk, so perhaps we can have them for another one.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, then in the meantime, maybe we can all just give a very quick either virtual clap or yeah, unmute yourself and clap for SlRvb, because the talk was really, really awesome. Thanks very much again for joining.
Yes, well done. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing this, and especially for sharing the vault for everyone to try out themselves. If you didn't see it, could you possibly post the link again, just for anyone that joined after? Yeah, SlRvb has made the setup vault available, so you can try it out yourself. And yeah, the video has been recorded, so you can also rewatch it on YouTube later. Cool. Yeah, and thank you to the audience for joining and for participating. Yeah, that's what makes these community talks community, huh? Yeah. So yeah, thank you again, SlRvb. Yeah, are you happy if people message you about this on Discord?
Yeah, sure. I think that's fine with me.
Cool. Yeah, same handle on Discord. You can reach out to them there.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll make an announcement when this video is up.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and hope to see you also next time.